Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy McRoberts. I am the owner of Jimmy McRoberts Photography. I am a professional landscape and travel photographer, traveling throughout national parks, national forests, and state parks, shooting vast locations of natural landscapes and showing people the natural beauty of the world in the United States, and hopefully soon traveling to, Europe and other countries to capture the beautiful scenery over there too. With this channel, I am going to be teaching people how to edit photos, capture different images and styles, how to shoot in the field, and how to see things differently than you would normally when you're out and you might just see something and think, "Oh, I'm just going to take a quick image." Now, I want to show people ways to maybe capture something differently and bring a different vibe to it, but never change their style of actual editing, because editing is your signature on your photos, but give you maybe a way to look at something differently. With that, I am a professional taught photographer. I have actually got a degree in photography. I have been trained by some of the best professionals in the world and have a 14-year career behind me so far in shooting. I have been printed multiple times in many different magazines. I have also shown my work throughout different galleries, online and in person, and I have also been in art shows and sold prints throughout my life. Recently, I just actually had my most recent art show on November 18th, which was a small art show locally to my area, but it was a good art show. It was very well done. I enjoyed it. Seeing people's reactions to my photos hanging on the wall and actually talking to them and stuff, it gave me more of a way to, hopefully this will show a better way for people to see, the editing style and show what goes into actually capturing and creating the final print in the photos and stuff. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you how to edit a photo that I'm working on, and that photo is going to be of the Smoky Mountains, and we're going to start working on that now. Okay, so in this image, this is a image of one of the overlooks through 441 between Gatlinburg, Tennessee and Cherokee, North Carolina. This is a 23-mile stretch of road that goes up through the mountains and through the Tennessee North Carolina state line. This is one of the overlooks. As you see, this is a darker image. This is a 5-shot bracketed images. This is a 2-shot underexposed image for a reason. I do shoot underexposed a lot because when I was young in my career, I learned to develop the shoot for the shadows and develop for the highlights. So I always like to be a little under on my exposure so that I can work on developing, so I don't see this bright area. If I was shooting this normally or overexpose this would be blown out and it'd be hard to fix without destroying the image. So it gives you the ability to fix this and this without causing noise and keep this the way it is, so you get this contrast. So I'm going to start editing, go through my flow, kind of talk you guys through it, show you what I do, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I want to get rid of this crop. Get rid of that tree right there. Just take it right there. Next, I want to just address this real quick. These bugs will be gone when I get it into Photoshop. I am a Lightroom Photoshop person. I always do my main editing in Lightroom and finish it off in Photoshop. Photoshop has always been my finish. I've done that for 14 years of my life, and I will never change that. I know a lot of people who will just straight edit in Lightroom, and I can't go to just editing in Lightroom. I have to do both. So it's just it's a habit thing. Once you're used to something, you don't change it. And if you just have a good enough computer to run both at the same time, which I do have both pulled up right now, it shouldn't take you long to do that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on exposure. So we're going to leave this exposure where it is, or a little under. Then you're going to take the highlights. We're going to pull the highlights up a little bit, pull the shadows up to draw out, the detail here. Also draw out the whites here, or the blacks here. Then we're going to hit the whites a little bit to brighten them up a little bit here in the clouds. Then we're going to work on clarity. Clarity will brighten things up and also give you some detail in the image. So you can see as I'm doing it, You know, if you go clarity, do it go away, it shows what it does, which it blurs the image. But when you pull it back and you start pulling it up, it will give you detail in the images and also brighten things up. If you hear something sneeze in the background, that is my cat Luna. She does like to make an appearance occasionally. She's just back there sneezing right now. I do apologize if you heard that. I also like saturation in my images because saturation will give you some colors and depths and stuff. So now that I got all this stuff fixed, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here. One of the first things you should always do is get into your, remove the chromatic aberrations, which is your corners will be fixed for you a little bit. Also enable profile corrections for the lens you're on. Some cameras will automatically do it for you, others will not. It depends on the lens you have on the camera and if it's a built-in profile or not, just to kind of throw that out there. But it did fix some of the brightness on the you can also go to distortion if you want and fix like the distortion in the image, which sometimes, you can't really tell a difference sometimes, and other times you can with it. I don't mess with it as much. Now the vignetting, I will mess with that occasionally, which will take out some of the dark corners for you. I don't like vignettes in my images. That's just a thing. Vignettes are usually for portraits, and I'm not a portrait photographer, of course. I have shot portraits in my career. I just don't do it anymore. Just something I enjoy doing them. I just don't. It's harder to make money off of them for me, just because. So now you can go up to the exposure, pull that exposure a little bit, and then try to get the blacks a little bit because you want that detail pulled out some. So now I'm going to teach you a couple tools that I like using that I've learned over the course of the time. Is the Sky Tool is a new tool that's in Lightroom. I love it because it will go in here and pull the sky, and it will go search the whole image for what they detected as the sky, and then lay this pink mask on there. So now what you can do is there's this little part here where it's not the sky, and this is where the mountain is still. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to take a little bit out of that. What it does is it saves you from what you're getting ready to edit in the sky from hitting your mountain scene in the background, which will give you that depth look, because this is a very deep image. I mean, you're looking at miles of mountains in one image. What it does is it's going to create separation too. You have your foreground, which is all the fall foliage, and then you have your mountains here. Then you're going to have your sky, and it's going to create a bit of a separation, which will actually make the person's view when they see the image go from the top or from the bottom to the top and view it more detailed and stuff, which is something you want when you're creating this. So now you can go down here and you can start playing with the sliders. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, I like the moodiness of the image. I want to get some contrast in there to get these a little darker, add a little bit more clarity to them, which will help with that moodiness a little bit. And then you can desaturate them, turn them kind of a black and white if you want, or you can increase the saturation, which will turn a little blue. I prefer the darker grays because that's how clouds look. And this is a fall day. It was not an actual storm that came through. It was just clouds that were rolling through, but it did look like a storm was brewing. Sometimes storms do have blue clouds and stuff, but this was a grayish cloud. I remember this quite well, actually. I do like how this looks. You can actually increase the shadows or decrease them, which will give you a little bit more of a mood vibe. Once you're done, go ahead. You can close out of that if you want to, or I'm going to create another mask, which is what I want to do is I'm going to use a linear gradient and work on the bottom part of the image next, which you're going to do this, and then you're going to turn it upside down, and all the area that's going to be affected is in the reddish, pinkish hue. Just bring this down and see where all that is. That's what's going to be affected. So what you're going to do is now you can turn this bright. You can start working on developing a separation from everything. Give your layers there, and that kind of stuff. You can create more saturation here, which you see the saturation back there turning blue in the mountains, which will give you that depth a little bit. Add a little bit more clarity, which will brighten up this little section right here for you. And then you can You know, you can pull out the shadows, you can darken the shadows. I like it right like this, and then you're done with that. This is pretty much the post editing, or the editing in Lightroom that I do. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to open it in Photoshop. And we're going to go into Photoshop and we're going to start working on the image. My Photoshop image always opens as a 16-bit TIFF. And it just gives you more depth and everything. First thing is I want to do a spot healing brush. And then we're going to go through and we're going to heal those spots where the bugs are. Because those little things are just, you know, they're a bit annoying. And they're everywhere in the fall out there. I go there a couple times a year. I haven't been there for the last few years because I've had some issues come up with my health, and then also with a vehicle. I was in a car accident toward the end of last year that kind of put a strain on getting into places and stuff. But that's okay. I actually have plans going forward to get there in the spring of 2023 and in the fall of 2023. So definitely going to have some videos from there coming in the future of me shooting in the field for you to see down the road. So now we're just, as I said, we're just working on getting these bugs cleared up. They're a little annoying, but you know, that spot healing brush is such a beautiful, powerful tool that a lot of people don't realize that, you know, can fix these little details, you know, where these are. And sometimes, like, I didn't even see these bugs in this image until I actually pulled it into post-production. And once I pulled it into post-production, then I started seeing them. And I was like, oh, these things are everywhere. And they're in a lot of different images too. So, and as I'm pulling up into this right corner, as one of the biggest issues with the D750 was the D750 had these spots from oil on the sensor, and it was a big issue with the 750s and the 600s and the 650s, even that. So what I did was I went in and you just go in and clean them up, you know, get that corner cleaned up. You never notice them after that. And then what you do is you bring these out. You can bring them out or bring the image out to your normal view. And if you see anything that needs it, you can just kind of do an eye view. I don't see anything else. The corners are clean up here. Now, the last thing I like to do in post with this is I like to go to, I use the NYX collection of filters, but the only filter I use on my photos is Pro Contrast for NYX in their color and in the color effects. And what this does is the Pro Contrast will help with color correction. So if you want to change the color of the image, it will color correct it for you, which is okay. I mean, that does create a really dynamic image, but I don't like the blue so much. But what I do like is I love how it creates this dynamic, look at the dynamic contrast it creates. It makes those clouds moodier and stuff and makes it more depth. Here is a little bright for me, so what we'll do is I'll go in and I will actually, you can actually fix the shadows and the highlights, which I love about, you know, you're not blowing anything out. I like how this looks, so I'm going to pet this like this, and then I'm going to take the brightness down on the actual image themselves, on the foreground, so it's not as bright, because if it's bright, it's going to stand out way too much, and you want everything to flow through the image and stuff. And I had an art show on the 18th, one of my friends of mine, who's an artist herself, was actually, we were talking about, she was mentioning how much depth there is in, you know, in everything. And what you can do is that it definitely shows you, you know, people who can see this and understand it. It gives a way to tell story. You're telling stories throughout the image. And with editing, you're editing and giving you the ability to do that, you know. So I just took the brightness down like a few notches, not much overall, to help. If you take that down, it brightens up, but see, it didn't hurt it that much, which is nice. So just flatten the image, and that is my final edit. But my friend was like, she's like, it's just cool how you can see so much detail and contrast between the foreground, the midground, and the sky and the top ground. And that's how you visually want to see an image, is go from the bottom to the top. And say I have everything tells you. You don't want somebody's eye to go straight to something, because then you lose that detail. Sometimes some people will shoot a foreground element, like I've seen rocks be a good foreground element, and they are usually. But sometimes that's the only they see that, and they don't. That's the only thing people will focus on sometimes. And then other times they'll focus on a big thing in the background, but the foreground is like left, just hanging there. So you got to find that optimal balance of everything. And I think with this image, the colors in the foreground, which is fall, everybody loves fall, it gives you a good foreground image. But then in the back, you have in the background, you have the sky, which is telling a story. Then you have the mountains in the distance, which is something that you'll see if you ever get to the Smoky Mountains. They're some of their overlooks. You can see mountains from, if it's clear day, you can see mountains from miles, and it's just beautiful. And it's something that it's one of the wonders that people miss, because a lot of people will go to the tourist area, which is Gatlinburg, but they miss going to 441, which is a drive. It's just a leisure drive to go through the mountains and see all this beauty. So if you ever get a chance to go look at it, it's beautiful. I promise you, it's not a trip you will never doubt yourself with, and definitely enjoy it. As I said, I'm a big advocate of going to the national parks, national forests, your local state parks. Support them and stuff, because the more people go to them, the more people see them and stuff. I think the more people can advocate for things like that, and I'm a big supporter of that. Finally, with the last images, when I'm done with these, what I do is I will file the size down, put a watermark on it for post online into Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those, and then I'll do an actual final size image for printing, which this can print. I mean, I can print this up to being 24 by 36s without any problem with it. I have a 11 by 14 framed into a 16 by 20 that's matted, and it's hanging in my living room in my house. And I actually will include that at the end of the video, so you guys can see that and see what it looks like and everything. Going forward with this, especially, with everything, I want people to, ask questions. What do you guys want to see editing wise? What do you guys want to do editing wise? It's open with this. I don't do a lot of like crazy editing. I will never replace things or add them to them. I'm a very traditionalist with like, this is what I saw and this is what I want. As I said, editing is your style, editing is your signature on your photos, so you definitely have that. So go for it, and stuff. But leave a comment, leave a like, if you want, subscribe to the video. I have more stuff coming in the future. My next video, which I'll probably do over Thanksgiving, I'll probably film it during Thanksgiving break from my day job, and then also to just start having that, and I can edit it and stuff. I want to actually do a photo, one of my favorite photos, and a lot of people's favorite photos from my last show, which I call The Lonely Tree. It's a black and white image. It's actually over my shoulder here, and I'm going to go through the story about it and actually tell you like how I visualized it before I even got it into post-production. Like, I knew that it was going to be a black and white when I took it, because of the setting and stuff. But that's also it's in Case Cove in the Smoky Mountains. It's a driving loop that you go to and you drive around, and it's really pretty. It's a gorgeous part of the park, very popular part. A lot of people go through. It's a tourist area, but it's worth it because there's some views that are bar none. And then there's also a waterfall there, there's a waterfall hike called Abrams Falls, which is another image I have that I'll do an edit on later for you. That is one of my favorite photos that people seem to like a lot too because of the colors and everything. But that's the future. I'm going to show you those, and then I'm going to also down the road have videos of me, being out in the field shooting photos. I might get out in the winter sometime if we get a good snow, and I can actually get out and not freeze, but also show you really good snow. Some really good snow images that will help you out and stuff. Show you how to shoot snow, how to edit it, that kind of stuff, because snow is a very tricky subject sometimes. And then when spring gets here, I'll definitely be out shooting, teaching, be on location, that kind of stuff. and everything. And then, I'll also do some stuff at some art shows, live videos, also shoot, show you guys some different things. So be on the lookout. Hit the subscribe button, if you're interested in some of the content. I have a lot of things coming forward that, people are going to be really excited about. 2023 is going to be a very busy year for me, but it's going to be a very promising year. So thank you again for watching. If you guys have any other questions, comments, leave them in the bottom, and I would hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.